Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm Emma, and right beside me here is Mike.
Hey folks. So good to have you with us again.
So, I've got a quick question for you. Have you ever been in that moment, like you're speaking English and suddenly, bam, you get totally stuck wondering if you're saying it right?
Absolutely, Emma. It's like you're talking, and then suddenly that tiny voice in your head goes, "Hold on, was that the right tense?" And then you're left thinking, "Oh no, did I just mess that up?"
Exactly. But here's the thing, mastering just the basics of grammar can actually be a total game changer. Like, even a few tweaks can make your English sound way more natural and, well, confident.
Yes, and that's what we're here for today. We're diving into the grammar essentials that are going to make speaking English so much easier. And, hey, we've got a couple of special guests joining us with some awesome insights to help you get it right.
So, get comfy, relax, and maybe grab a coffee or a glass of water because, trust us, you won't want to miss this one. By the end of this episode, you'll have some powerful tools to make sure your grammar just clicks. All right, let's do this.
Key phrases.
All right, Mike, let's dive into these grammar basics. So let's start with nouns and pronouns.
Nouns and pronouns.
Think of nouns as, the names of people, places, or things, right? Like teacher, park, or phone. And pronouns? Well, they're the little words that help us avoid repeating those names over and over. If I say Emma likes coffee, that's a noun, right?
Exactly, Emma. You're the noun, and coffee is too. But if you keep saying Emma likes Emma's coffee, it sounds, well, a bit awkward, right? That's where pronouns come in.
Right.
So instead of repeating Emma, we just say Emma likes her coffee. It's smoother, and, who wants to hear their name over and over?
Yeah, exactly. And imagine a conversation where you keep repeating someone's name. It'd sound pretty weird. Pronouns like he, she, and they really smooth things out. In fact, here's a quick story. My friend Alex once started a speech, kept saying his own name, and people were like, we know who you are.
Now, let's talk verbs and tenses.
All right. Verbs are like the action words: run, jump, eat. And when it comes to tenses, it is more of a time thing. We've got the past, present, and future. So I eat, I ate, I will eat. And each one, in its own way, paints a picture of when something happens.
So if I say I run, that's present tense, and if I wanted to talk about yesterday, then it'd be I ran. And tomorrow, it's I will run. It's amazing how just changing the tense paints a picture of when things happen.
Exactly. And think about it. If you said I run yesterday, people would be like, wait, what? Keeping tenses straight helps everyone follow along.
Totally.
Now let's add a little color with adjectives and adverbs.
Adjectives and adverbs.
Well, adjectives are those words that describe nouns. Big, small, blue, happy. They're the ones that make things interesting. And adverbs? They describe verbs, usually ending in ly, like quickly, happily, quietly. So instead of just saying, she sings, you could say, she sings beautifully. See the difference?
Oh, totally. And adverbs are like the cousins of adjectives. It's funny how just adding an adjective or adverb can totally change the meaning of what you're saying. So instead of just run, you could say run quickly. It's way more vivid.
Yes. So if I say, I sing, it's okay. But I sing beautifully tells you a lot more, right?
Right.
Now, here's where things can trip people up. Prepositions.
Prepositions.
Prepositions are little words like in, on, at, but, they can be tricky. Like, I'm in the car versus I'm on the bus. It's these small differences that can throw people off sometimes, you know.
Thank you. It's like they each have their own personality. It might take practice, but once you know a few, it gets easier. Think of prepositions as the glue that holds everything in place.
Perfectly said, Mike. And last but not least, sentence structure. So we have simple sentences like I run, then compound sentences, which join two ideas, like I run and I swim, and complex sentences, which give more detail, like I run because it's healthy. Each type adds a different rhythm to your language.
Yes, it's like mixing music. Short sentences for impact, longer ones to add flow. Knowing how to use all three keeps your English sounding smooth and interesting.
Couldn't agree more, Mike. So, folks, these basics might seem small, but they pack a punch. Once you've got them down, you'll feel so much more confident in your conversations. All right, so we've got a treat for you today. Joining us are two amazing guests who know a thing or two about English grammar. First up, we have Sarah, who's been teaching English for over a decade and has worked with students from all around the world. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Emma. It's great to be here, and I can't wait to dive into these topics with you both. Grammar can be a little intimidating, but I promise it doesn't have to be.
Love that energy, Sarah. And next up, we've got John. Now, John has a fascinating story. He learned English as a second language himself and now helps others master it. John, welcome.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Emma, I'm thrilled to be here. I know exactly how it feels to get tangled up in grammar rules, so I'm excited to share some tips that helped me along the way.
So, John, if you could give listeners one light bulb moment about grammar, what would it be?
Good question, Mike. I'd say the moment when you stop trying to be perfect and just focus on communicating. Grammar is important, but if you focus on getting your point across and learn a bit each day, it becomes a lot less stressful and, honestly, a lot more fun.
I love that. So listeners, keep that in mind. It's about finding those pieces that help you communicate more confidently. All right. At this moment, we're going to dive into our dialogue just to give you a picture of how to use grammar in your daily routine. Let's get into it.
Hey, Tom. I just got us a table by the window. Isn't this cafe cozy?
Oh yeah, it's great. Thanks for grabbing the table. I was worried I'd be late. Traffic was terrible.
No problem at all. So what are you thinking of ordering? I heard their lattes are amazing.
I think I'll go with a latte then. And maybe a muffin. What about you?
Same here. I already ordered a latte for myself. Oh, and by the way, has Sarah come in yet?
Not yet, but I'll keep an eye out. She did say she might be a little late.
Got it. Anyway, it's nice to just relax here. It's got that friendly, welcoming vibe, you know?
Definitely. And wow, they serve everything so quickly here. I love places with great service.
All right, so that was great. Sarah, what stands out to you in terms of grammar? Anything our listeners should especially pay attention to?
Definitely, Emma. One thing I noticed is how they used pronouns to avoid repeating names. For example, Lisa says, "I just got us a table," instead of, "I just got a table for Tom and me." Using pronouns like us makes it sound so much more natural.
John, what do you think about their use of adjectives and adverbs? We heard a few in there like cozy, friendly, and quickly. How do those add to the dialogue?
Good point, Mike. Adjectives like cozy and friendly really help paint a picture. It makes the cafe feel welcoming without needing a long description. And when Tom says, "They serve everything so quickly," that adverb quickly shows how he feels about the service. Little details like that make conversations feel richer.
Yes. And it's those small choices, a pronoun here, an adjective there, that make a conversation feel smooth and engaging. Grammar doesn't have to be complicated, right?
Exactly. It's more about using just enough grammar to be clear and expressive, rather than trying to follow every rule perfectly.
Couldn't agree more. So, listeners, keep an eye out for these little details in your own conversations. It's amazing how much impact they can have. Ready to move on to the next part?
Okay, here's something we've all wondered at some point. Is it really okay to split an infinitive? You know, like saying, to boldly go instead of to go boldly. What do you all think? Sarah, let's start with you.
I'm all for splitting infinitives, honestly. I mean, language is about expression, and sometimes splitting
Hold
an
on,
infinitive
Sarah.
just makes
I
things
get
flow
what you're
better.
saying, but splitting infinitives? To me, it makes sentences sound, well, less refined,
Think of
especially
to
in
boldly
formal
go
writing.
where no one has gone before. Without splitting it, we'd get to go boldly, and it just doesn't have the same
Keeping
impact.
infinitives
But
together
John,
maintains
isn't
clarity.
language meant to be flexible? Why get hung up on this rule if it makes communication clearer or gives a sentence more punch? Sometimes sticking to tradition can
I
make
get it,
things
but
sound a bit
splitting
too
them
rigid.
changes, quite frankly, the whole narrative.
I
Think
see
about
both points here. Sarah's right. Splitting an infinitive can add emphasis. But John's got a point too. In formal writing, a traditional structure can sound a bit more polished.
Exactly. And there's something to be said for both approaches. But don't you think, John, that clinging to the old rule can sometimes feel, a little
Not
outdated?
necessarily, Emma. Following established grammar gives structure and can actually improve understanding, especially for learners. Why break a rule unless
Well, John,
absolutely necessary?
maybe that's where we're different. I think grammar should be more about flexibility and expression, even if it means bending a rule here or there.
All right, you two. This has been a fantastic debate. So, listeners, as you can see, grammar isn't always black and white. Sometimes it's about preference, context, and hey, maybe even a little bit of personality.
Absolutely. So whether you're a rule follower like John or a language rebel like Sarah, just know there's room for both styles. Let's keep the debate rolling with some practical grammar do's and don'ts next.
Grammar do's and don'ts.
All right, listeners, it's time for some quick and practical do's and don'ts to keep in mind as you work on your grammar. Sarah, what's one do and don't you think is super helpful?
One of my favorite do's is do check for subject-verb agreement. It's one of those things that can sneak by, but making sure the subject matches the verb, like he runs instead of he run, keeps your sentences clear and professional. And my don't would be, don't worry too much about perfection. Focus on getting your point across. If your grammar isn't perfect, people can still understand you, and practice will make it better over time.
Awesome. John, what's one do and don't you'd suggest for our listeners?
For me, a big do is do use adjectives and adverbs sparingly. Adding descriptors like quickly or amazing can make sentences lively, but too many can make it sound cluttered. And for my don't, I'd say don't overuse commas. Sometimes we feel like adding commas everywhere to make things clear, but it can actually break up the flow and make sentences hard to read. A good rule of thumb is to only use them when they help guide your meaning.
All right, everyone. So remember, listeners, these do's and don'ts are here to guide you, not to stress you out. Small adjustments can have a big impact.
Top 5 tools to improve your grammar.
So let's share some fantastic tools to help you improve your grammar in a fun and effective way.
First on the list is Grammarly. It's great for catching mistakes and improving sentence structure as you write. You can use it as an extension on your browser or in word processors, and it gives you suggestions instantly. Next, there's Quillbot. It's a rephrasing tool that helps you see different ways to structure a sentence, so you can learn alternative ways of expressing ideas. Perfect for expanding your grammar skills.
Another awesome tool is Hello Talk. It's an app that connects you with native speakers. You can chat with them, and they'll correct your grammar in real time. Plus, it's a great way to practice conversational grammar.
I love Hello Talk. Another great one is BBC Learning English. It's full of free resources like grammar videos, exercises, and quizzes. They have lessons for all levels, so you can find what suits you best.
And finally, English Grammar in Use by Raymond Murphy. It's a classic grammar book with clear explanations and exercises that are perfect for self-study. You can use the online version or get the physical book. Both are fantastic. So there you have it. Grammarly, Quillbot, Hello Talk, BBC Learning English, and English Grammar in Use. Try them out, see what works for you, and make them part of your grammar journey.
Tip of the day.
All right, listeners, today's tip of the day is match up. Just remember, keeping your subject and verb in agreement will instantly make your sentences sound smoother and clearer.
Exactly. It's like this. If you're saying she runs or they walk, just a quick check to make sure they match up can make all the difference in sounding natural and confident.
And here's a quick way to practice. The next time you're speaking or writing, take an extra second to check that your subject and verb are in sync. If you're ever unsure, simplify the sentence, and you'll catch the right match. It's a small step that builds a big habit.
I love that tip. Matchup is such an easy way to remember subject-verb agreement. Start practicing it today, and before you know it, you'll be doing it without even thinking.
Absolutely. It might seem simple, but focusing on those details is what brings fluency over time. So listeners, challenge yourselves to match up throughout the day.
So there you go, everyone. Practice that matchup today and watch how it boosts your confidence and clarity. All right, everyone, we're wrapping up today's episode. Let's go over some of the key takeaways from our Grammar Essentials discussion.
First off, remember the basics. Nouns and pronouns help us name things and avoid repetition, while verbs and tenses allow us to show when something happens.
And don't forget adjectives and adverbs. They add color to our sentences, making them more expressive. Plus, prepositions and sentence structure keep our ideas clear and connected.
And our tip of the day, match up. Making sure your subject and verb agree brings fluency and polish to your sentences. Simple, but powerful.
Exactly. And remember, grammar doesn't have to be perfect. Every little improvement you make builds your confidence and makes communication smoother. Thank you so much, Sarah and John, for sharing these amazing insights. Listeners, keep practicing these small tips and you'll notice real improvement over time.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment with your favorite grammar tip or any questions. We love hearing from you.
Most importantly, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks again, everyone, and thanks to our guests. Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode.